Welcome back to the Modern Creative Podcast. It is your boy Alberto Mendoza. Today we are with Benjamin Edwards, based out of Nova Scotia, Canada, and he is a cinematographer who specializes in music videos. Ben, how you doing, dude?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on this.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. We've been following each other for quite a few years now, and your work is been something that sticks out for me. Like I just love what you were doing so far, and yeah, man, I just want to talk about it. Let's get into how you got into the creative space. How did you get into the game? Is this something that you were born with, or you kind of like developed those skills later in life? Or just, let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. First of all, it's great to be East Coast, West Coast. You're all the way over there on the
Yeah.
West Coast. We're all the way over here on the Atlantic Ocean. So it's kind of cool that that connection happened over the last couple of years. We've been looking at each other's work, as well as this. That is just the power and the what we have access to nowadays to be able to communicate with other creatives around the world, people that have the similar interest. So it's great to finally get to actually talk to you face to face. And I'm not so sure. I mean, I've watched a bunch of your episodes. For me, personally, like I always wanted to do something creative, but it wasn't something I was born and raised in. I won't say that I had cameras growing up and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of something I leaned more towards when I got a little bit older, more in my late teens, where I started to see the world differently. And once you have a camera in your hand, you basically see the world as how you would like to portray it to people. So that's kind of like where it kickstarted. I didn't really have any kind of inspiration that just made me do the leap.
Why music videos?
Well, music videos, when I grew up, I always loved music videos. I mean, it was back in the day before even like Vivo was out, where people would be producing music videos, and I always thought they had different kind of styles. There's always performance, and then you could mix it up with narrative, storytelling, and then also as that, just aesthetically pleasing visualizers. And whatever kind of genre you like, you can do so much with that, considering how much diversity there is out there in the world of music.
Yeah, with music videos, when I only did a very little bit of music videos, but when I did, like you could really do so much. It's not just a performance shots. You could sprinkle it with, like you said, narratives, amazing B-roll, collaborations. It's like the ideas are so infinite, and it's like you could really, really flex your creativity.
Yeah, and it's also that collaborative process, just like you would with a director elsewhere. It's with the artist, some have very deep meanings behind the lyrics, and it's that collaborative process that you get to enjoy with them as you both create a specific piece. And they actually help, I found, push me a little bit more, because some of them are more picky and more attention to detail than others, and that way it literally expands who you are and what you're capable of, especially when they demand certain shots or there's a certain look you're going after.
Yeah. Do you stick to like specific genres of music, or do you kind of like, hey, I'm willing to do any kind of genre? Because for the most part, I do see a lot of hip hop. I have seen a couple of like pop songs as well. So I'm just curious to know what's your like go-to genre, or do you even care?
I mean, for the first little bit, I was hip hop because I grew up to Lil Wayne and Drake and all those guys. So when I grew up to that, it was kind of like hip hop was always the music I would listen to no matter what. So I kind of fell into the hip hop scene a little bit more. And then as I was progressing, I was watching people. I was like Theo Scudra, who shoots for Drake. He shoots
Dude,
black and white
he's
film.
so good, man.
Dude,
Have you
he's
seen the
crazy.
documentary on, there's like I forget, it's like a Canadian channel who does like a short piece on him. Dude, it's like one of the most inspiring. I watch that video quite often. It's like, it's so good. He's so
I
good.
saw that, yeah, with Theo. I've obviously Edgar Estes was a big part. I saw him when he started Blank Square Productions, and I've seen him kind of rise that way, all the way to the top. Based in Toronto, there's the 97 Collective, which is run by Dragon, and he did stuff with Roy Woods, did a Drake tour the weekend. And if you actually look at his stuff, it's so aesthetic. There's like a certain look, when every color, I wouldn't say monochromatic, but it's not complementary. Like everything is orange or green or blue, and sometimes to the eye we might think like we don't like green in a look, like green lights, green skin tones, but they just
Especially
he
with
makes it to
Sony,
perfection.
especially with Sony colors, man. They give that infamous green tint.
Yeah, the infamous green tint, but these guys kind of go along with it, and that's like the entire look of their videos. So all these kind of inspirational figures is kind of what pushed me more into hip hop, but obviously I am open to other genres because, well, for one, it's more work, and then two, it definitely gets you in a different place, and it pushes you again. Like I said, with instruments, it's completely different.
Right. As far as your music videos, like how do you approach a music video when someone reach out to you and say, "Hey, this is my track. Let's cook up something."
Yeah, so I usually will get a bunch of different. Usually, it starts with just an inquiry, and they'll send a track along, and I'll take a few listens to the track and kind of figure out where they're coming from. And we do everything from pre-production all the way to post and color and finishing. So we'll look at the ideas. We'll listen to the song a few times. We'll talk with the artist about the meaning of the songs, and then when we kind of have a base idea for the video, then we will start going into references, and visual references is the best way. I mean, sometimes we'll just pick a look for the whole thing, and then sometimes we'll just break it up into scenes, and then you have to do all the management and whatnot, and you know the drill after that.
Yeah, I'm really big with visual references. Like I am a visual learner, so every time I even talk to anyone that's looking for some sort of video project, not necessarily just music video, I'm like, "Do you have any music? Do you have any like visual references, like from like Vimeo, YouTube, or any still shots from a show or a movie?" Like the more visual references you send me, the better understanding I know. Like, all right, this is the kind of vibe you're trying to go for.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, do you use any of the software? Like, do you use like shotdeck or anything?
I have used shotdeck, and shotdeck has been pretty clutch. I just used it recently on a video, and I did my own on via Milanote. I did like a little, I guess, a little mood board, and I sent them the examples of like, hey, this is what the kind of vibe that I'm thinking. Since for the most part, like the client, I wouldn't say sometimes even music artists, they don't know what the visuals gonna look like or what is it they want in general. So with this, like I'm able to provide some sort of like, hey, this is what we're trying to go for. Let me know if we're aligned. If not, we could tweak it and figure it out together.
Absolutely. It's great to build a mood board and to get you both on the same page. I would say
Yeah,
that,
and
absolutely.
you're setting expectations from the jump, and you're not going to turn it in, especially for a music video that costs so much. You're not going to just turn it in a video, and that's like the complete opposite what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for a grungy black and white film, and you're giving them an oversaturated color like a Barbie film or something like that. It's like that's the last thing I want that to happen. You know?
Yeah, and it gives you a good look into like what you might need. I mean, if they say like I like this certain color or I like this certain look, you could go, oh, that's a wide lens. So what do I have? Do I need to go get one? Or if it's very distorted, or there you can tell there's a filter on there. There's so many different things that we can nail it down, saying, okay, now this is what I need to make the project. And
Right.
it's all in those mood boards.
When you do your music videos, are you working with any directors, or do you working with like a PAs or gaffers? Like, or are you just kind of like one man banding it?
So I started one man band, and absolutely, I started with everything doing it myself. But eventually, we moved on, and I have worked with directors. Mostly now, I just get hired. I do direct and things still, but I mostly get hired to produce and then DP certain things. And I have a very loyal crew with me. I have a gaffer I work with, and a grip production coordinator, and there's camera operators that we love to work together. And that's kind of like, it depends on the scale, right? Depends on like the budget and the funding, depends on like how big we're gonna go with it. Absolutely.
And let's elaborate more on like how you got to that level, because yes, like you said, like we all start as a one man band. You are the producer, you are the DP, you are the director and the editor as well. So like, how did you eventually step up to like the ranks of like, all right, you know what, let's start assembling a crew? Because it does make your life a lot easier. It makes the job a lot easier because you just focus on, for example, as a DP, you could just focus on the framing and how you guys want to capture the actual image, rather than, well, I got to make sure the artist shows up on time, I got to make sure he's like the makeup is perfect or whatever. So how did you get to those, like how did you elevate yourself?
Well, definitely a lot of errors and headaches. I mean, we all start somewhere, and the hardest part was to get the confidence to take the first leap and to do the first video, even though it's not going to be the best. But yeah, we started off just like me and a couple real close friends, and just like Amazon lights and all this kind of stuff, shooting no S-Log, none of that, and just going on with it. And then eventually, it's just this industry, as you know, is connections and building it with people. And the more experience you get, for one, the more you are able to analyze how much funding this will cost, or if an idea is big, because you have an artist that says, I want to play a guitar in the middle of the field, and then you have an artist that might say, I want a car on fire. Well, those are like completely two different scales of like budget, right? So you have to kind of figure that one out, and you are 100% right. When you're focusing on everything, I found that a production coordinator has been game changer for me, especially if we have a scene where there's dancers or locations or extras. They can take care of that. so you can focus on framing, because it gets hard when you're trying to set up lights and everything and you're distracted because of other people showing up to set and stuff you got to do, fill out the contract. So
It's so easy to make
just
those
like meeting
mistakes as
people.
well. It's so easy to make those mistakes. I've been not to interrupt you, but like, yeah, like when you're focused on too many things, like I have had things like slip up on me, like whether like a camera setting was a little off, which normally I would never have happen. But since I'm balancing so much, easy to make those little mistakes that could be avoidable.
Yeah, and you're on a time crunch, so it really does affect how you react in those situations. So I think it's good to have people around you, especially people you can trust.
Right. Tell me if you have any stories in regards to like having an artist not satisfied with your work, and how did you deal with that?
The best,
Or even
the,
or any mishaps, not necessarily they hated your work kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, if anything, I think most cases where someone hates your work is, I think it's more miscommunication from the get-go. I don't think, I mean, there's definitely worse videos that could be made, but there might be some miscommunication of like, oh, this is not how I want it to look at all, or this is not right, or my face looks like this and whatnot. The best way you can do is to listen. Absolutely, you need to listen to what people are saying to you, even if it's a client. You need to listen to that feedback. And it just brings you back to that PR, customer service kind of thing. You know, you just gotta, how can we make this better? And I usually try to do whatever I can in my power to make things better or find a solution. I mean, I've never had to scratch a whole video before or scrap it, but I've definitely had to like go back and forth and just keep a cool head, stay composed, and there's got to be a solution eventually, and you're just going to do your best.
Yeah, I like how you said like keep your cool head, because even during the revision process, like it's very easy for the artists, yourself as videographers, cinematographers, it's very easy for us to get offended when someone gives you some sort of revisions that just completely doesn't make sense visually. But like again, you are the expert. They don't know how to actually make a proper video. So in their eyes, it's like, well, can you just like change this scene to this scene? But in your head, it's like, well, it doesn't make sense because visually speaking, story speaking, this has to happen for this to happen. Kind of like an ABC route, but like it's very easy to like lose your cool and just be like, well, fuck this guy's an idiot. Like he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, you know? And so tell me about like, how did you eventually get to like the cooling aspect? Because I'm pretty sure, unless you've always just been a cool character, it's our first time meeting virtually. Do you just know how to like take it in and just like live with it for a day or two and then come up with a response?
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to always ask for a lot of criticism, and I used to always, when I first started, I knew it was going to come, and I mean, the more money, obviously, you know, the bigger money, more problems there is. And I've always been somewhat composed, but obviously early on it's really hard because you even know when you're first starting out that like it is actually not the best work I will ever make. So you even have an internal battle there. And I think the more you actually put more dominance into it and owning up to it and accept failure, accept mistakes you've made, and really, but also know that you know more. Like you said, like if this doesn't work, you need to know that you know that. So you can say that. You're the professional. They're coming to you. So you can politely say like, honestly, like this shot won't cut with this. Or that's just too, I say that's just too ambitious.
That's a good one.
I truly mean it. It's like, oh, but can't we just like do it in post with effects? I said, well, if you want to hire a big special effects person, I mean, that's a lot of money. And it's just, I just completely, honestly, for me, it's been honesty. Honesty for me is the best policy. So that's kind of how I've gone with it.
How do you keep realistic expectations with these artists?
I think when an artist reaches out to you, I think they're confident in you. I mean, they believe in you. I mean, they have all the choices. Just like you can pick like what piece of gear you want to buy. You can pick what restaurant you want to eat at. I mean, it's just the expectations are there. I mean, if they somewhat believe in you at the minimal, because like if they're coming to you, they believe in your work, your vision. But I never set expectations way too high. Like I would never walk on set and say like, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest video of the year or something.
Yes, especially when you're starting, it's very easy because like you're just hungry. You want to get that client, you want to earn their trust and like make it official, get the deposit down. So it's very easy to like overpromise on things. I've shot myself in the foot many times in my rookie days where I now learn if someone asks me, hey, is this possible? I'm like, is it possible? Yes, but are the funds there? Possibly not. We could use those funds for something else, you know? The reason I ask, because I'm sure you've been in situations where you've like overpromised possibly, and you're like, damn it, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there has been parts where I've kind of like overpromised certain things, but like I said, I keep the expectations low enough. So there's always a sense of overachieving, and most people, when they get more than they asked for, it just helps contribute to the overall satisfaction of the whole project as a whole.
No facts. Let's get nerdy, man. Let's talk about gear. What did you start off when you first got into the game?
I started off on a Canon Rebel T6i. How about you?
It's 63 A6300, Sony 6300.
Oh, you were a Sony guy from the start.
From the jump,
Oh, I
man.
like
Well,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I've loved how compact those cameras been, and I knew I was gonna travel around, so I just wanted something small. Where back then the Canons and the Nikons were just so like bulky and not for me. I just wanted something very slim. But so you went from Canon T6i, and then where are you now, right? Because I've seen you play with a variety of cameras, different models, different brands.
Yeah, so I started on the T6i with all the money I ever had. I didn't have any money after that. And then I eventually made the jump to Sony, and I picked up an A7R at the time, which didn't shoot 10-bit, and I didn't know that. I didn't know what 422 10-bit was. I didn't know what S-Log was. But yeah, I went from that one, and then I bought a red Komodo just to work with more with like the red color space and red code raw, which I love. I mean, it's got a Super 35 sensor, and then I never had a camera that was really small and compact, so then I eventually bought, last year I bought an FX3, just a small one that you could like take around.
So for most of your music videos, are you going with the FX3 or are you going with the Komodo?
Now it's a choice. They're tools for what do you need? Do you need a hammer or do you need a wrench? I like to do Komodo as much as I can, just so I could shoot in like 6K and scale it and use much different colors. But if it calls for it, I'll take out the Sony. I mean, listen, like the Sony has been mind blowing to me. Everything from the small FX3 to the FX6. FX9 is going to take over documentary and reality, and then the Sony Venice is just being used on, you know, Top Gun Maverick. So it depends. I mean, if I'm doing a lot of run and gun, and I need internal stabilization, I need gimbal work, I'm going with the FX3. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with that. If I can rent an FX6, I'll rent one and use those internal NDs. Absolutely. You can even put the FX6 on gimbals now. So
Oh yeah.
it kind of depends. And low light, absolutely. Low light, I'm going with the FX3. Easy.
So when are you using the Komodo? Just curious.
I use the Komodo for a lot of, I do it for a lot of interviews, performances, and then like more planned out music videos where we might, you know, get a dolly or easy rig or sticks, something more where I can just frame up more better compositions. And I have more light, more or less. It's more of a setup.
And you never really have issues. I mean, I'm assuming does the Komodo film in RAW? Correct. It does. Okay. So you never really have issues like color matching with the Sony systems to the Red systems, right?
It is a little different. I mean, if you're gonna go to 709, it is a different color space, so it's a little tricky. I usually don't match them because it would get too complicated. Only sometimes I would, but it is a little off, so you'll have to make some adjustments just because they're different gammas and whatnot.
Right. And so, what has been right now in the almost at Toronto in the Nova Scotia area? Like, who are your favorite artists that you love working with right now?
In Nova Scotia, I have to say, or I'll be in big trouble. I'll say my guy Shani, Syrian Lebanese hip hop English rap.
Is that the dude I always see on your Instagram a lot?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's
Yeah.
the guy, man. And I can't say I'll be in big trouble if I
Not
don't
gonna lie,
say his
you put
name.
me onto him, man. Just based off your work, dude. His work is pretty good.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and like he's got such an artistic vision. I'd have to go with him. I love my other boy Basil. There's a few names I'm gonna say, like Quake Matthews, fresh out of Nova Scotia, Maggie. Also, I'll say April. I've been working with her. She's from actually the province aside from us, but I've been working with her a lot more. There's tons. I mean, I know a lot of them, so, and I appreciate all of them because we're such a tight community down here. So, yeah, everyone's work is appreciated.
That's awesome. And do you like when you first started working with these individuals, did you like reach out to them, or did they kind of like see your work from like the social medias and kind of like reach out to you? How did that go about?
So this is where the Shawnee comes in because I used to go to Shawnee's music video shoots just to help out, like move lights, whatever I had to do. And then I just started taking still photographs of him on set, behind the scenes stuff. And then I met him and his crew, and then that kind of leaped me forward to shooting mostly for him and then upgrade and then just continuing to upgrade. And then through him, you meet other people and you just meet everyone in the music industry. New
Nice.
people.
So you pretty much were doing the grunt work. I mean, it kind of reminds you of the Theo Scudra story. That's how he started working with Drake. He was like I think a PA, and he shot a photo for the Take Care. He accidentally took the photo, and he got ripped by the director. And so he's like, "Hey, I like that photo. Start working with me." And they've been working together ever since. So very parallel stories right there.
Very parallel. And yes, I have, in the freelance world and in the film industry world, I have done the grunt work that no one knows about. Like the most bottom you can imagine, like PA even
Making
lower.
coffee runs and all that good stuff. Get the lunches and
Bro,
whatnot.
picking up cigarette butts.
Oh
I
my
swear to God.
I never heard of that one.
Grips.
That
Yeah,
role.
picking up cigarette butts to make sure the owner of the location is happy when everyone leaves. Like I have literally done like the bottom of the barrel.
But
Stuff back
but
in the day.
you weren't letting your pride get to you. You were able to, like, you know what, this is what I need to do. I need to pay my dues right now, earn these people's respect, to show them like, hey, I am here for the long run. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I would get there eventually or start to get there. But at the time, it's like, yeah, I need to like put in the work, and this is just a warm up to me. You know, this is just how it's gonna be. And you know what? The people that have done that kind of stuff, much respect to them, because finally, when I'm in this position, like on my sets, I even though I'm directing and DPing, I still make sure that everyone's good. I don't want anyone's morale down. I will help people pick up the garbage at the end of the day. Like I don't care anymore. Like I went through that way, so to me it's like I have much more respect. If I go on set and people say, "Oh, do you want a coffee?" Because I used to make coffee for the DP, and they go, "Oh, do you want a coffee?" I'm like, "No, I don't want a coffee." I said, "I'll go make." You stay here. I said, "I'll go get one myself." Like I don't need people bringing me coffee and stuff. Like I'm just not. I just knew I would never be like that.
Yeah, that's cool too. Like to notice that. Yeah, because I've been the coffee runner. I've done from like building up the rigs to cleaning up and whatnot. So I understand where you're coming from. But it's just funny because like a lot of like the creatives nowadays, I feel like they feel a little entitled because the social media makes things look a little bit too easy. So they expect to get in those higher positions just because you have an FX6 or an FX3. What are your thoughts about like the entitlement that, at least that I'm seeing? I don't know about in your area, but I definitely see that around here in Southern California area, especially like since I'm so close to LA. I mean, everyone and their mom owns a nice 4K camera, but they feel like they should be working with the top artists in the game.
Yeah. What I think is that I definitely think the top position is a mix of experience, hard work, and knowledge. But I also just think that, hey man, some people are just given opportunities, and then some people need to work a little bit harder. And it doesn't matter which one you fall into, but you're gonna have to work hard in both. But some people are just given opportunities sometimes, and that's just kind of like how it is. And you are right, there are some entitled people out there and the egos, but you just got to remember that where you stand, and remember that each position, whether you are the coffee maker to the assistant to whatever, every position is important. So I always thought, like, even though this is not what I want to do, I need to do my job best I can. It's a very important role. And then when the opportunity comes, it's just, if you're prepared for it, then you're good. You'll be off. You'll be flying then. You'll be going. But it's just to make sure that every day you get better and better, and try not to worry about other people who have maybe given a few steps before you.
Right. Have you seen that a lot in your case, where in your sets where you see some individuals just kind of like slacking, or do you know how to like keep a tight ship where like, hey man, we're all going to put on 100% for the next 6 to 8 hours for this production, and we're all going to kill it?
Absolutely. Like I know skill and knowledge when I see it, and I like to be with people who are just hard workers and that will help everyone. I've been on sets where I've had to help everyone, and then I've been on sets where I just have to stick to my job, and then I slack a bit because I just have to stick to my job. But I always try to keep open to that, and try to get as many people who want to make. We're all contributing to the project, and that's what I want everyone to contribute to. But yeah, absolutely, I do agree with you about. I can see that. I don't see it too much here, but I do see that it's much easier to claim things and to get opportunities from other people. I mean, I've seen people put in decades, and then there's someone who's been put in 2-3 years and they're a director, and it's like, well, I guess so. I mean, but it just depends where you stand, I guess, and what you've
Sure.
done.
Definitely.
It's a hard one. That's a hard one. It's a delicate topic a little bit, I think. Just like
Yeah. It's
little
just,
bit.
yeah, it just, I guess like social media just makes things look too easy, but in reality, they don't see you picking up the cigarette butts after the freaking 10 hours that you put into a music video shoot, you know? They just see the nice camera and it's like, oh, I started working with ASAP Rocky or whatever kind of thing. And it's just putting up like, it's putting up like a false sense of like, hey man, this isn't super, you can't just grab that real quick like that. You actually got to put in those grunt hours of doing all the quote unquote shitty work.
Yeah, and you'll see the difference. I mean, you'll be able to just listen and to know, like, if your knowledge is so in depth and you have that experience, you'll just kind of know. And I think that's something you should just keep. You should keep that private victory to yourself. But if you know you're capable and if you can make a move, I'd say make a move. Always remember, always don't ever diss the job you've had, but always like say like it's okay to say this is what I want to do. And if you prove it, just the right opportunity might come your way.
Right. Do you dabble with any other kind of work outside of the music video space?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an open book. I've always said that I'm not niched. Every kind of content creation I think you can imagine, from weddings to promotional for promoters. I've done like reality TV, documentary, and then I've worked on feature films and big union TV shows. Using like the big stuff, and everything's run differently, but it's just that bucket of knowledge I take with me. It's like I'll be a sponge. Like I'll go, I've worked on budgets where it's been like out of my pocket. Like I'm down this hundreds of dollars to $250 million shows, and the $250 million shows is like, obviously I'm not DP in that because we're all too young for that, but those DPs are very wealthy in knowledge, and if I can just be a sponge in all these different places, I'll be a sponge and I'll learn what I can.
That's cool because like I mean the page that I at least follow, I'm not sure if that's your only one. Like all I see would be music video related stuff, But it's cool to hear like other, just like the past guests I just had. Like it's cool to hear other creatives dabbling into other fields of work, not just necessarily in one thing. Because like I mean, at the end of the day, rent's due, and if you're a little slow on your specific quote unquote niche, like hey, I don't mind taking a wedding here and there, Do you have any advice for any aspiring videographers or cinematographers and how to get to your level of shooting these big project music videos and whatnot?
Yeah, I have like a few steps that I've taken. So every year I've taken a new step. First year was the year of end in procrastination, and end in procrastination, which means just go do it. Just go shoot it. It's a practical skill, so just kind of go out there and procrastinate. If you want to go to that networking event, if you want to go to whatever, or you want to just cold DM someone, it's the year of end of procrastination. And then next year was the year of knowledge, which was just like learning as much as you can, spending that time to learn practically and theoretically, like going online and learning. Like I've taken like Jacob Owens, like I've taken his like Tropicolor courses. I've done all that. I've done Shane Herbert's Herbert Academy, Filmmakers Academy actually, and whatever I could do. So it was all about learning, and then obviously find like mentors, find people who see something in you and they'll teach you. If you work hard for them, they will pass down knowledge to you, which can be very helpful. And then another year I did was the year of do, which is now that you've got the knowledge and now that you have no fear of procrastinating and caring what other people think, you put those together, and then now we just go. Now the year of do, just do everything, do as much as you can. And those were like 3 steps that I took, but they go hand in hand, right? Just talking, meeting people, learning, doing, and create more. Just keep going with it.
Yeah, procrastination is something I'm still battling every single day. Like I know what I need to do, but it's like I started thinking of like, all right, I have like 4 active projects. I need to respond to these emails, and I gotta send some proposals out and invoice follow ups and whatnot. And like, it's very easy for me to get paralyzed because I've like, it's all in my head. So something I've been doing to like help me out a little bit is just get a notepad and pen and start writing like, all right, for the week of this month, for the week of for this week, I'm going to do these list of priorities, and then I'll rank them by like high priority to like least priority. And that's been, I've been able to check it out, check it out, check it out. And that like at the end of the day or the end of the week, once you see everything checked out, it's like, man, I did a lot and I feel very accomplished, and just been doing that every single day. It's very easy to like, all right, I got the mojo going. I got momentum going. Let's keep doing this, keep doing this, keep working.
It helps with the balance too. That's another thing I would say. Like I've made so many mistakes. We can juggle. We call it like the golden 4 or the golden 8 if you can. Like when you're juggling so many projects, you're juggling so many balls, you're gonna drop one. But if you can stick, and you might take on too much, which becomes too much for your head to do at once. Like if say you have like 8 you're editing at once, but if you can juggle those 4 to 6 to 8 golden projects, that will keep you going. And yes, critical thinking. I mean, not when people think of procrastination or they're stuck in somewhere. When was the last time, since we're so, used to technology, when was the last time we actually just sat down, wrote at the top of the paper, problem or what to accomplish, and you just worked on your critical thinking and just laid it all out? Like we don't do that much anymore. So being organized is very important for anyone who wants to be in the creative world.
Yeah, organization is so vital, like not just like theoretically, but like even like figuratively, like file organization, all that good stuff, especially with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
man. Like I'm sure you have to deal with so many
Files.
different files, and sometimes you have to archive them, and artists may hit you up like, hey, I want to do another like 30-second snippet to keep pushing this video. You have to go back to that project file months later. Like all that is very, very important.
Save backups. Whenever I make a timeline, if everything's not even if not even a cut, if it's just synced up, I'm making backups. I'm making a backup. Because if you start cutting, and then they might even say, "Oh no, we have a new copy of the actual track, and now it has a feature on it." It's just kind of like, well, or when you cut to music, when you cut a corporate to music, right? And you cut on those beats, and it's like, we don't like all this. We need to reshoot it. And you're just like, well, can we change that last day, deadline day? And it's kind of like, no, I keep my backups in case I have to ever go back or if it gets corrupted or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not speaking of backups. Like I don't even know. I picked this up somewhere where I like if I have a V1, I'll like nest that or start a new sequence and like copy and paste it and duplicate it, for example, and then I'll start a V2. So if for some reason we're like four drafts in, you're like, you know what? I actually like the volume 2 version or the draft 2 version of it. Can we go back to that edit? I've been in situations where I was like, bro, like I've worked on just one timeline and I'm like, dude, I can't go back anymore. So I learned that lesson to like, you know what? After each draft, start a new sequence or kind of like just push it away and just nest it and then start from the scratch. So those kind of backups also like it will save you so much time and headache, especially when you're dealing with an individual that's requesting 10 different revisions, which I've been before.
Yeah, revisions. Yes, when there's lots of objections, we need to be able to go back and to stay organized. I mean, if someone walks in the room and says, it's just like if someone walks in the room and says, show me this clip. I need to be able to like from the other day. I need to be able to get it up as quick as I can and show like, oh yeah, that's from this day. That was this shot. This is what happened. And file it's tedious. Oh my God, it's tedious. But just if you do it, and I like to label things like with color, like color my folders, and I find the more subfolders the better, to be honest.
Yes, I do the same thing. Each camera has its own different color. Each sequence has its own different color. That, like I said, I'm a visual learner. I go everything based off visuals, and that's been helping me out a lot. Name me 3 of your favorite current music directors.
3 favorites. So I'd have to say Edgar Estevez. I'd say Dragon Antich of the 97. And I would have to say maybe, if you know Dave Myers, the legend, the man of the century, Dave Myers. He has done stuff from way back, and he does the DJ Khaled. He does Ariana Grande. He's done like all the big mainstream pop and whatnot. So I would definitely put him next to the 2 very visually, aesthetically pleasing lads, and for their hard work and diversity. I mean, like Edgar did when he did Actually, I would say an honorable mention would be Christian Bresloyer when he did The Box for Roddy Rich, which won the best award. I mean, the work that went into that was absolutely spectacular. But I mean, my current favorite Edgar one would definitely be like probably Provide, honestly, with G-Eazy and stuff. I don't know why, and Chris Brown, but they have a lot of behind the scenes of that set, and it just looked like a blast. And they've worked all the way to the top. So much respect to all those guys.
Yeah, I love consuming BTS. Like even if it's something I'm not like I don't care for, like I just love seeing what it takes to create a certain image. Like especially in the music scene, like the way they shape these lights to get that specific look, it's like it's not an accident. Like it's something I like to educate non video people or even photographers like, yo, like what you're seeing right there is not an accident. Like that was intentional and it probably took hours to set that up just for a 2 to 5 second shot that's going to be in the final version of the video.
Yeah, absolutely. You can learn a lot from just like seeing how it was done, and then it makes more sense to you when you see it from paper, and then you see it actually like live.
Right. Is there a specific music video that you've done in the past that you're very proud of, and why?
Proud of, proud of and satisfied. I think is two different things. So I think as creators, it's hard for us to always be satisfied with our work. We always shoot for perfection. However, perfection doesn't exist. If you just think perfection exists, then it just leads to procrastination, and it's just a loop. Proud of, I'd say like I think I'm more proud of how every video is different and better. Like since the obviously beginning to now, I'm more proud of how much better they are nowadays, the videos we make. But also, I'm just kind of more proud of like how every video is different. If I can accomplish like one video we shot 4:3 aspect ratio, another one film grain, black and white. This one's pop at saturation. Whatever differences I can make, and those are like the aesthetical choices. I think I'm more proud of that, of like growing and expanding the boundaries in videos like that and whatnot.
How can you describe in 5 words the Benjamin Edwards style?
I would have to say like realism, aesthetic, I guess maybe decisive, and true, and pure vision, I guess, because at the end of the day, a lot of people just think that I like my work just to be very more focused on perspective of like how I see things. And if we can agree on that, that's amazing. I mean, that's it. But I want mine to be like up close, personal, real, real and different. I've always just want to be different. Whatever I make is just going to be different. If people say like, oh, just the way you've done it like this, I said, that's just a perspective that we're seeing through a lens, and it's just different to the human eye. I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
Is there any challenges that you faced on set that you've had to take care of, and how did you overcome that?
On set, I think we're going back to the on set. I would save us some time, and I'll just say like the pride thing, and getting through every day. Take care of yourself. You know, eat well, sleep well. Don't do anything that's not safe. Don't try to prove too much. More mistakes is to learn to stay out of the way, learn to ask the right questions, learn everyone's roles and respect everyone's time. I think that's like important to overcome challenges. I mean, you won't really get faced with challenges if you just think 5 moves ahead and just kind of always scan. I'm always listening and I'm always scanning. Like I'm always looking like at everyone, knowing where everyone is. You gotta know where everything is, and you just have to keep an ear out for the important voices that you need to hear to know. If you can think into the future and kind of predict things, it's gonna help you for the long term.
Awesome. Well, Benjamin, it's been an honor and great to finally meet you virtually. Hopefully you could touch down to the West Coast and we can meet in person, man. But thank you so much for getting on this podcast with me, and appreciate you, man.
Nah, man, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. I've been seeing you grow, and the podcast has been doing well, and a lot of people are staying to it and learning from it. So, good on you, man. That's it's hard to stay consistent with that. So
we're trying,
keep
man.
it up, yeah.
We're
I
trying,
would love
man.
to come to Cali, man. I would love to come out to Cali. You have no idea, and just have some fun down there. So
whenever you come down, you hit me up, man, and we'll do it up out here.
yeah, so I appreciate that. And anyone who's listening, just like, keep pushing forward. Just the only competition you have is the person you were yesterday in this creative world, and just keep going no matter what. And wishing you good luck from afar, as you know.
Love it, man. All right, guys. If you guys want to connect with Benjamin, his Instagram will be linked in the description. Feel free to tap in and reach out to him and say what's up. All right, guys. We will catch you guys later. Peace.